in the language arts department, we've been working on setting up some curriculum and what we're going to be doing, and going back to the grade level expectations and deciding who's going to be teaching what things at what grade level. And one of the pieces is that reading is going to come into all departments. And so we'll be looking at reading in math and reading in science and reading in social studies, and specifically how different kinds of reading skills are going to be taught in your department. The other thing that we've been working on this year in the department areas is working on clarifying what the enduring understandings are going to be for your department area, so that we can, when we went to the Understanding by Design workshop, we got some basic understanding of what understanding by design could mean for our staff. And then we had those 2 workshops where you had the experience of taking your people through what some enduring understandings in math and science and social studies and language arts could be. But I think it's really important at this time of year to look at what we're going to do next year, and specifically how you as department chairs are going to be able to work with your departments to coach them through both of these pieces. Because to meet our school improvement goals, we've got to not only meet standards in your areas, but we've also got to really ramp up what we're doing in reading. So it's real important that we're working together as a team, and that the only way this is going to work for us is if you guys in the leadership in your departments are keeping this in the forefront of people's minds. So I want to talk a little bit about what you're thinking about as some of the things that you've accomplished so far and what you think we need to be working on for next year. So, I don't know. Matt, you worked on your school improvement plan.
Yeah, I think we need to really look at what specific essential learnings we're teaching in each of our classes, and how those fit into essential questions in our units that we use. And that's going to take time, and that's kind of the big drawback we have here at school is we're really busy teaching, and a lot of times there's not the time to get together as a department to make these kinds of plans. As the year goes on, everyone gets busy. People are involved with outside activities, coaching sports and clubs, so those are some things that can really hinder the progress that we need to make, and that's the big time issue. Now I know next year we're looking at early release days on a weekly basis, and that could help us with the time issue if we have time as a department to get together and to meet and look at what are the essential questions in our classes that we need to be teaching to, and how are we meeting the state standards that are necessary for especially our 9th and 10th grade students.
Mm-hmm. What concerns do you have about your leadership role in going through the process that you're talking about?
Well, I guess the biggest concern with essential questions and the whole understanding by design is make sure everyone in the department really understands what it means. I look at essential questions as really they're big, overarching understandings that go beyond math, that go into all other subject areas. And a lot of times, especially math teachers, from my experience, really look at specific skills in math as what's essential, and not the overarching ideas. Like if we're doing statistics, a lot of teachers want to look specifically at the process of finding a statistic mathematically, where we need to look at if we're making a study of statistics, how do we know when we have enough data to say we have a good sample? How do you know these things? Those are the kind of overarching questions you need to want your kids to be able to answer, as opposed to just, well, how do you find the mean or the median or standard deviation?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where social studies is at a little bit. Not so much as far as you're talking about not understanding the essential questions, but our department is spread out within the department. One teacher will do econ, one will have geography, one will have world history, one will have U.S., and one will have the current world problems or contemporary world problems. So the trouble for our department is how do we connect from class to class? And I think it's hard, or one struggle that we've had is what are the key concepts for the social studies discipline? And I think we need to get our department to take a look at that, understanding that each class is going to be a little bit independent, but what can kids take from class to class and connect to new stuff they learn as they get older? So that's one thing that we'll probably need to tackle. We also seem to have a misunderstanding of what exactly makes an essential question. Like what you're saying, it's not so much the questions in the book that are essential, it's more the concepts. So we're going to have to struggle through that a little bit and make sure we get that clarified.
I think one of the things that your department might need is a bunch of really clear samples of here is an example of an enduring understanding, and here's another one, and that a lot of what they've been teaching, because they're expert in that field, they see the details, and they see the details as very important because they find the details interesting. And I think that giving them some real clear views on what are the overarching social studies concepts that are going to be addressed in a number of classes. There's more reading done in more text reading done in your discipline than in math. And that a burden is going to come on your teachers to be doing some real specific things in reading to help kids unpack the text. Because we know that many of the books that we have are at a much higher level than our kids can read. And so teaching the kids the reading strategies to be able to understand, and using shared reading and turn and talk is an expectation I'm going to have of social studies teachers, and we'll need to do some coaching in that area so that all of the teachers feel comfortable doing that. Have you started moving down that road yourself?
Baby steps. I haven't integrated a whole bunch the last couple months, but it's certainly something that I've noticed that there's a big need for.
What kinds of challenges do you see in working with your department or coaching them, both in reading strategies and in determining enduring understandings?
Well, if I look at the enduring understandings, my department, everyone almost has their little baby of, this is what I like to teach. These are the topics I feel are important within my subject matter. So I think some of us don't quite understand what an enduring understanding is. We hear the 40-40-40, what do kids need to know for 40 minutes, 40 days versus 40 years. And that's what we really need to come together as a department and look at, what are those things that they need to know for a lifetime. It's not necessarily do they need to memorize a periodic table, do they know where to find one and how to use it. Teaching them those strategies, those understandings is what's important. That's where I think we have a lot of work to do, of coming in and finding out what are those overarching things that the kids need to know, and then how can we, within our maybe different disciplines, use our curriculum, our content, to help the kids build those skills.
And I think that part of your role as department chairs is to set the tone that this is exciting and important and something that's necessary for our kids to do, not just another burden, but this is where we're going to get to where our kids need to be.
For me, it's like we see the wide range of topics in science just seems overwhelming at times, but this will help us pare that down, and what are those essential things that we need to teach that are going to be important, and I think it'll almost help relieve the pressure, I guess, of the overwhelmingness of everything.